I built an audience to 300,000 people, but I never learned how to turn their attention into a predictable income. And it wasn't that I couldn't capture attention. I could. I just had nothing built underneath it to do anything with it. Because here's what took me 7 years to understand. Communication is capture, infrastructure is income. They're two different jobs, and almost every coach and consultant online is only good at one of them. So you might get a client here or there, but then nothing again for months. And that's most of you right now. You've got the expertise, the experience, the results, plus you can communicate it. That's the hard part, and you've already done it. But what you don't have is the infrastructure that turns it into a predictable income online. So I built one, and I call it the Leveraged Growth Protocol, which is made up of 7 steps. And in this video, I'm handing all of them to you to run in your own business. No more theory, no more posting and praying, just a system that turns attention into income predictably. So let's get into it. Step 1. Most coaches try to speak to everyone, and as a result, end up speaking to no one. So step 1 is to pick one person and one wound, not a demographic, not 35 to 45-year-olds, but a frustration. One specific problem that one specific person lies awake thinking about at night. Because in reality, when you try to post content that speaks to everybody, what actually ends up happening is it's like picking up your phone, just randomly scrolling, hitting call and going, "Hello, Greg, is that you?" Like, what are the chances Greg on the other line? Tiny, right? That's what happens every time you post content that speaks to no one in particular. You're just praying that the right person hears it. So get specific. One person, one wound, one outcome. Now, I'll give you my version of Greg. I could try to speak to every coach on the internet, and what would happen? I'd end up speaking to none. So instead, I speak to the coach trying to build their way to predictable 10K months online, because I've been there. I've had the 10K months. What I hadn't done was make it predictable. And that's the whole reason I built this protocol. Everybody says they want to make money online, but my person, they want something sharper than that. They want to replace their job. They want to stop posting and praying and realize, when am I going to get a lead in the door? They want to know what the actual roadmap looks like to get there. Maybe they're a personal trainer working 60 hours on the gym floor who just wants their life back, or an Airbnb coach who mastered Airbnb for themselves but can't build a business to teach that expertise to anyone else. And here's the part most people get wrong. They think the big numbers are where the money is, going from 30K to 50K. But that person, they're not lying awake, worried about their bills. The person I speak to, the one stuck between 0 and 10K with their coaching business, that's the wound my business is built to close. Now, this is your first piece of leverage, a focused message, because one piece of content that speaks to one person's pain does more than 10 posts that speak to everyone. It's why someone posts 10 times a week and hears nothing, while someone else posts 3 times a week and signs clients on repeat. So this isn't optional. You have to do the work to understand the person better than they understand themselves. Skip it, and everything after this is guesswork. You're just making random content. The best content, the best ads, the best funnel, none of it saves you. Because if you don't know exactly who you're talking to, all great content does is bring you more of the wrong people faster. That's why this is step 1, because everything else is built on top of it. Now, step 2. Your offer. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They build the offer first, then go looking for someone to sell it to. That's backwards. The offer is the answer. It can't exist until you know the question. And the question is the wound. The one we just picked in step 1, the person you're helping, the one person, the one wound, the one outcome that you're providing, that. So your offer is the thing that closes that wound for that one person. It's one transformation for one person priced properly. That's it. That's your offer. And notice, it's not built for volume. It's built for value. You don't want 100 cheap clients draining you. You want a handful of the right ones paying you what the transformation is actually worth. Now, this is your second piece of leverage, the leverage of value. Because a focused offer is worth 10 times more than a broad one, but it takes the same hours of your life to deliver it. Same time, 10 times the price. And here's what I mean. A 2K offer that you sell once a week, that's 8K a month. Or a $200 offer, you have to sell 40 times to match it. The same money, but one of those buries you in delivery and burns you out. The other one, it gives you your time back. And here's what beginners get wrong. They go straight to the cheap one. Loads of small offers selling ebooks and all those sorts of things. And then they wonder why they can't make a real income online. So if you're new to this, don't sell low ticket. Not yet. Low ticket only works once you've got 2 things already. a big audience and higher ticket offers above it. Then you sell cheap to the people who can't afford the more expensive offers. But you've got neither of those yet. So you start at high ticket and work your way down from there, not upwards. Step 3, messaging and branding. Here's the mistake. Most people are terrified of repelling anyone. So they make their message safe, broad, agreeable, and end up sounding like everyone else. But your messaging, it has one job, and it's the opposite of safe. You need to make the right person feel seen and heard and make the wrong person leave. Because the more precisely you name your person's wound, the one from step 1, the more it proves you understand them. That feeling of, wait, how does he know that about me? That's the start of trust. And trust is what branding actually is, nothing more. It's the associations people attach to you. Think about it like this. You've got 2 pairs of jeans in front of you, right? You can't tell which one is better. And then you turn them around and one has that little red Levi's label on it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Suddenly, you trust those are the better jeans. The other pair could have been more expensive, better made. Doesn't matter. You trust that red little label. That's branding. It's a shortcut to trust built on associations. So you have to give people something to associate you with. Now, this is your third piece of leverage, the leverage of resonance, because the right message to the right person does the work of 1,000 cold pitches. They don't feel sold to, they feel understood. If you skip this, your content gets views, but no buyers. People watch, they nod, and then they leave because you captured their attention, but you never captured them. And this is where something bigger starts to build, because messaging this sharp doesn't just get you a client. It starts a machine I call the trust ecosystem. And in a couple of steps, I'll show you exactly how it turns strangers into clients while you sleep. But it can't build itself. It needs people flowing into it, which is step 4, traffic. So you've got your message, your brand, your offer. Now you have to get it in front of strangers, and not by luck, on purpose. And here's the uncomfortable truth about organic reach. Even when you're great at it, it's a lottery. Some weeks you get seen, some weeks you vanish in the algorithm, and you can't build a business on something you can't predict. And I know that better than most. I built 300,000 subscribers on organic alone, no ads, from the ground up, over 7 years before there was even short form. And I still couldn't tell you which month I'd earned more than the last. That's the difference between being good at a platform and having a system. I was great at YouTube. I just never had the system underneath it. So here's the system. There are 3 ways to get strangers in front of you. The first is content, mainly short form for getting predictable cold viewers. Short form does the finding. It gets you in front of cold strangers and earns one thing: enough curiosity that they want more. They're like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Let me go look for more. The second is ads. Ads get you qualified strangers in front of you on demand, predictably, but only once your messaging and brand are dialed in. If you run ads before that, you're just paying to amplify something that doesn't work. Now, this is your 4th piece of leverage, the leverage of capital, because money used right buys attention on demand. You stop praying for reach and to be favored by the algorithm, and you start buying reach. But if you don't have the capital yet, that's also fine. You can build it up, because there's a third way that costs nothing but your time, and it's outreach. You go and find your one person once you actually understand them, and you start a conversation. People call outreach a luck game, but it only really fails when you skip the first 3 steps. Because if you don't know who your ICP is, you're basically pitching strangers. But if you know your ICP dialed, but your branding and messaging is off, then you pitch someone, they go to your page and they just leave because your content didn't speak to them. So whichever way you get the attention, whether it's content, ads, or outreach, none of it works until steps 1, 2, and 3 are locked in. The traffic was never the hard part. Having something worth arriving to is. Now, step 5, nurturing. Remember the trust ecosystem I mentioned earlier? This is it right here. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They think attention is the goal. So they chase views, trying to go viral. But attention isn't trust. And people don't buy from attention. They buy from trust, but only once you actually understand trust. But I'll speak on that in a minute. But here's the problem. You can't build trust in 15 seconds. Short form catches them, but it can't convince them. This is why the trust ecosystem is so important, because there's 2 types of content doing 2 different jobs. Short form does the catching. It earns their interest in what you have to say. And when they come looking for more, your long form is what they find. 10, 20 minutes of you, your thinking, your approach, how you actually break down the problem. Because anybody can fake their way through a 60-second reel, but it's a lot harder to fake your way through a 20-minute video. That's why depth builds belief in a way that short form simply can't. So your prospect, they bounce between the two. Short form catches the spark, long form keeps the fire burning. And the whole time, they're convincing themselves at their own pace before you ever even speak to them. That's the trust ecosystem. That's the machine. And it's the difference between a content account and a content engine. Now, this is your fifth piece of leverage, the leverage of media, because content works while you sleep, but only if it's built to. One long form video can convince 1,000 people while you're at the gym, asleep, doing anything else. But here's what breaks if you skip it. You capture the attention, but then it just evaporates because there's nowhere for that attention to go. That's the problem when you don't have long form content. Someone feels the spark from one of your short form pieces, but then there's nowhere to send them. So that spark, it dies. And tomorrow you start again and again and again from zero every single day. That's not a business, that's a treadmill. And nobody likes cardio that much, let's be honest. Now, step 6, converting and closing. Now the ecosystem's built, it has to start paying. You spent step 5 building trust, and that matters. But here's what nobody tells you. Trust alone doesn't make people buy high ticket offers. What makes them buy high ticket is certainty. And I break down certainty into 4 specific things. I call it the 4 yes theory, and it's the clearest framework I teach. And I've made a video dedicated to it, but I'll break it down briefly for now. So before anyone buys, they have to hit yes on all 4 of these. Now, 1, yes to the outcome. 2, yes to the method. 3, yes to you. And 4, yes to themselves. Every single person who doesn't buy is stuck at one of those 4 gates. That's it. That's the whole reason. It's not that your market is saturated. And by the way, a saturated market proves demand. So stop blaming it. It's that the person was stuck at a gate and you couldn't see which one. So step 6 is building the system to see the gate. You track, you measure, you watch where people go quiet. And the moment you can see which yes is missing, you stop guessing. You make the content that closes that exact gate. You have the conversation that closes it for that exact person who's struggling. Conversion, it stops being a feeling. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna close the, It becomes a diagnosis. Now, this is your 6th piece of leverage, the leverage of data. Because when you can actually see what's stopping the sale, you can fix it. Everyone else is selling in the dark. You're selling with the lights on. And here's what breaks if you skip it. You blame yourself. You decide, oh, I'm so bad at selling. Or your audience, my audience is cheap, that's why they don't buy. Or you're just not good enough. But none of it's true. You just couldn't see the gate. And the moment you can, the people who almost bought start becoming clients. Now, step 7. The last one, service and LTV. And this is the step that decides whether you've built a business or a prison. And I mean that because here's what happens to almost everyone the moment they start finally signing clients. They get buried, more clients, more workload, and eventually burnout. I had to learn that the hard way. But the lesson is simple. If you sign clients without a system, you become the bottleneck. You become the thing your business can't run without. So step 7 exists to do one thing: separate your income from your hours, because with no system to deliver, you can't take on anyone new. So when a client leaves, and eventually they always do, you drop everything and run to scramble and try and replace them. That's the hamster wheel. That's the job without a boss. Now, there are 3 levers to get you off it. The first is pricing. A few great clients who pay you properly, instead of a crowd of cheap ones draining you. Second, once you have clients, a lean team, so you're not the one touching every single task by hand. Third, a content system, so the top of your ecosystem keeps being poured into. And here's the part almost nobody connects: the client who stays, who wins because of everything we've just built, who renews with you. That's not just revenue, that's the most powerful number in the whole business, your LTV, lifetime value. Because what a client is worth over their lifetime decides how much you can afford to spend winning the next one. It literally hands you your traffic budget. So a client who stays doesn't just feed your bank account, they feed step 4. Returning clients pay for the ads and the reach. The ads and reach brings new clients, and the machine, it starts turning itself without you running on the treadmill all the time. Now, this is your 7th piece of leverage, the leverage of people and system, because the business stops needing you for every little thing. It starts to run and feed itself. And here's what breaks if you skip it. You don't end up with a business. You end up with a job you can't quit. One where you're putting out fires every single day instead of enjoying your business. So that's step 7. And that's a leveraged growth protocol. all 7 steps built right, it runs without burying you in the business. Now, one last thing before I let you go, because knowing the 7 steps is one thing, but understanding why they matter right now is another. First off, the more automated everything gets, the more people are starving for real human connection. The world is lonelier than it's ever been, which means people like you who can actually connect with someone and help them are sitting on the most valuable skill of the next 10 years. 2, attention is collapsing. People don't have the patience anymore to research a whole market, compare every mechanism, weigh it all up. They just want one person who clearly gets it. Which leads me to the 3rd thing. People trust less than they ever have. They will not buy from someone they don't believe. So a brand built on cold funnels, fast pressure, rushing people over the line, it won't work for much longer. Now, when you put all those 3 together, lonely, distracted, and slow to trust, you get exactly what I've broken down today. Because the coaches who win the next 5 years, they won't be the best communicators. They'll be the ones who build the infrastructure to turn connection into certainty and certainty into income. And that window is open right now, but it won't stay open forever. So that window I mentioned, here's how you step through it. If you're great at what you do, but you've never turned it into a predictable income online, this protocol was built for you. And you've already done the hard part. You've got the skill, the experience, the results. You just never had anyone to show you the infrastructure underneath it. And I didn't either 7 years ago. And it cost me. That's why I built this. So if what I said makes sense, this is what you need to do. You might have found me on Instagram. If so, head back over there and DM me the word client. If not, the link to my IG is in the description. After you DM me, I'll take a look at what you're working with. And I'll tell you straight whether I can help you or not. No pitch. I only work with clients I know I can get results for. So if you're one of them, I look forward to working with you. Until then, peace.